YouTubers. Hi, I'm back on the 24th of 2024, and this one is really interesting because it's about an evacuee's childhood and very interesting kind of approach to us as well. Now, you read books, okay, like Back Home, got like Mr. Tom, which has basically people children go off to the countryside, being evacuated during war, and the first time they've ever seen a cow, first time they've ever seen the countryside, and it's kind of like going from the slums of London to idealism, see the idealistic kind of world. This is very raw in its approach, and I appreciated that. It's called I'll Take That One, an evacuee's childhood by Kitty Baxter. Okay, so Kitty Baxter, great name. Here we go. Kitty Baxter was born in London in 1930, the daughter of a road sweeper and a cleaner, and one of 5 children. On her 9th birthday, as the shadow of war loomed ever closer, Kitty became one of thousands of children evacuated to the countryside. This would be the first of 3 times that she would be rehoused far from home over the course of the war. Kitty recalls the gruelling years she was cut off from her parents, experiences of living with strangers' families, environments radically different to working class London, how she navigated joyful moments and times of struggle and loss. Okay, and one thing I absolutely love is it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And it starts off with Kitty's life and her family. She's in the East End of London. Okay, in Camp. Sorry, my apologies. It's South London. Here we go. Right. Home was a 2-bedroom flat in Camberwell, South London, set in a block with 40 other families. It was a small, comfortable flat with all of us in the building knew and trusted one another. We left our front door key hanging on a piece of string just behind the letterbox. Neighbours could let themselves in. We're free to come and go and in and out of our friend's home any times. Right. To me, the whole block was one big family. Now, they have no sanitation, windows get broken, but the thing is, this is Kitty's world, this is Kitty's childhood. Everyone is kind of crammed in. People are sharing rooms. They have absolutely no money. They do the best of what they do. Mum is a cleaner, father's a road sweeper, and they have to hawk their worldly goods. They have to like put their father's suit in, okay, and then get it back later. They have to like put it in a pawn shop, then get it back later and hawk it, if you will. And that's her world. And the world that Kitty describes is, at its core, a world which no longer exists. I mean, this is what she's talking about her family, okay? There's no national health service in these days, so an operation to save my grandmother's son was out of the question, as it would have been too expensive. Whenever anyone referred to her eyesight, Nan would say, worse things happen at sea. Never had been on a boat. I didn't argue with her about that, okay? So, a grandmother who went blind because there was no national health service. Okay, there was in the places where you used to pay a penny a week, and then they would pay for your treatment if you need it, a kind of early form, okay, of private health insurance, if you will. However, sometimes they didn't actually have the money; they had to go and run and hide without knocking at the door, that kind of thing. But this is Kitty's world. I mean, it's a world, okay, where when her brothers are born, okay, William and Charlie, okay, they have a cot in a drawer where everything that is given to an elder child is then handed down to a younger one, okay? And when she talks to about her sisters, this bit here, now, this bit here on the 1st of September 1939, okay, which is actually Kitty's 9th birthday, okay? Right. Mum walked into the bedroom carrying a parcel wrapped in newspaper and tied with red ribbon. Billy started to wake up. Mum gently shook my shoulder up, putting her finger to her lips. Tristan wake the others. I've got something for you. Okay? And it's a doll. But the thing is, okay, it doesn't give you time to play with that doll for a very long time. Because the day she's going to be evacuated. And the parents don't tell her. Her parents don't tell her or her sisters where she's going. They just say, you're going to the countryside for the day. They don't even have suitcases. They have to put their clothes in pillowcases because they're going to be evacuated, and they do not know. They absolutely do not know. Here you go. Hetty, Mary, Kitty, you're going on a trip to the countryside today. Instead of forgotten about the one what was bothering Mum and Dad, believing that it's going to be my special trip arranged just for me to celebrate my birthday. Until I realised something sinister was happening in the world, and to this day, my 9th birthday was not going to be the last day of my beautiful, safe, secure childhood, but a day that would change the lives of millions of men, women and children. No one could ever imagine what the future held. Okay? So, yeah. Hetty, Mary and Kitty are, being evacuated. And it is really kind of bleak as well when you realise that you know, when it finally hits them, they're not going to go home for a very, very long time. It is absolutely heartbreaking. I give Kitty Baxter the strength of her writing. She really knows how to put you there. When she's describing this, saying goodbye to her parents at the train station, being standing on a platform with the children that she knew, okay, um, I physically felt like I was there. It's magnificent, her take on this, her strength of her writing, how she can recall this decades after the event. This is such an important book, okay? Here you go. And the thing is this, now no one wants to be picked last, okay? Absolutely no one wants to be picked last. And but the thing is, the three sisters, because the mothers insisted they had to be evacuated together. Family of three, a lot harder, okay? So they are the last three left, right? And suddenly a woman came in with a boy at her side. He looked older than Hetty, about 16. It was a little strange to see a real country boy. He wore an oversized green jumper, black Wellingtons, and a back woolen hat on top of masses of red hair. And the woman pointed to Mary, her sister, and said, "Oh, I'll take that one." Right. Yes, so these sisters are going to be, like, Mary's the eldest, and she's going to be split up from her family. Right. And when it comes to Hetty and Kitty, you imagine, okay, where they're going to be evacuated to. And they actually are picked by a woman called Miss Rosie. She picks them up in a car, they're the last two standing, and they get taken to a manor house. But they don't get taken to a manor house to live actually within the manor house. They get taken to this manor house to live as servants. Yeah, you can imagine, okay, these poor girls, okay, and suddenly, okay, they've lost their sister, has been taken off, may have been taken off, right, to, after a boy whispered his mother's ear, "Oh, I want that one because you're pretty," basically, which, by the way, has many sinister implications, by the way. And this is a bit here. "My name is Rosie, but you call me Miss Rosie. I work very hard here for the Lord and Lady of the house. I don't have time to look after you. I don't want you here in the first place, so you have to help me in the kitchen if we're going to get along." Right. And where they're staying, basically, okay, is pretty much a mattress on the floor. They've got to go to bed at 6 o'clock, get up early, got to clean stuff. They've basically got to clean the house. They never ever go upstairs to actually be in the main house. It's one of those things, okay, where maybe the lords and ladies were like, "Oh, well, we're going to bring them in, but they can just be downstairs, okay, and be glorified servants because we're the kids on the East End. We don't want them polluting our, you know, touching our stained house, our silver taps or things like that." Yeah. By the time months that they're there, they never ever go upstairs. Okay? And the thing is, they're searching for Mary all the time. Every single moment they get, okay, they're scouting around looking for Mary. They're walking the countryside looking for their sister. Right? Planning how to get home. Right? After um going to school, and their school there, okay, is absolutely, it's not even really a school, it's like a glorified hall. They've got to sit, they arrive late, so they've got to sit at the back on the floor. They get caned because they arrive late. It was their first day after all. And people, there is no kind of camaraderie, okay, with the other evacuees. People actually treat them quite badly. They don't have any friends in that school. Right. Because obviously, okay, they're to London. They're from South London. Here you go. Every night we sat planning to run away, wondering how we'd get a train without money. "We'll just pay the other end," said Hetty as she sat drawing a little map. "We tried to continue to wander around searching for Mary, both during the week and at weekends, but efforts were in vain. We didn't want to run away before we found her." Yeah, absolutely. Didn't run away before they found her. But then their mother shows up to take them home. Okay, now there was a phony war. Essentially, children were sent off to be evacuated in 1939 when the war broke out. However, as it wasn't, the bombardment of London hadn't happened yet, so loads of parents went to thought it was a phony war and went to got their children from the countryside. Um, Obviously, Kitty's brother stayed because they were the youngest. However, um, the elder three daughters were evacuated, and it turns out, okay, that Miss Rosie was such a witch, right, that they know exactly where Mary was, but the letters, okay, that the mother was writing, Rosie had opened all the letters about passing them onto Hetty and me. Letters had told us where to find Mary, so while we spent months searching, Miss Rosie had known Mary's whereabouts all along. Right. Rosie then went on to explain to Mum uncomfortably that looking for Mary had given us something to do. She also said she hadn't given us the letters because she didn't want to upset us with the thoughts of home. If only she'd known how upset we'd been not knowing where to find Mary and not hearing from Mum. Yeah, all that time, Miss Rosie, okay, we treated him as basically more than a servant, right? We've had the letters. How devastating must that have been? To know that your sister was only a few miles away and you didn't know. To know that your mother was writing your letters but you never received them because Rosie kept them. Now, she said again, oh, I didn't want to upset you, but basically it's all about control. Mary, well, likely, okay, you've left this world for the next, okay, but can I say, screw you, darling. Miss Rosie, burn, okay? What you did was wicked. You're thinking of yourself. Basically, you wanted to subjugate these children, okay, and just get them out of your hair so they walk the country, start looking for their sister. Well, you knew where they were the entire time because you're invading their privacy and reading their own private correspondence. Oh, okay. There you go. And when they find Mary, they're wondering where's Mary been. Now, interesting too, okay, because as you sisters were separated, Mary's experience of the war was so far was very, very different, okay? And we later found that Mary had been very happy in her billet, and she hadn't in fact been many miles from us, although we never had found her. If we had, she probably wouldn't have come with us, even spoken to us. She found a new life and loved it. Unlike her school experience, she had private tuition. In fact, she didn't want to leave her new home and go back to London. This made Mum a little upset. Mary had found a great friend instead of the house with whom she referred to as a brother. She had her own bedroom, which she knew she wouldn't have at home. Mum told her she could go back for a visit as the people who looked after her had been very kind. Mary cried all the way home, missing her new family. She was no longer the worried, vulnerable young girl who'd left home 7 months earlier. No, she hadn't. She's changed. Mary's seen a new way of life, in a way, and she didn't want to go back to that. So, okay, in all this, that's the first evacuation, and then the second evacuation begins. Now, at this point, the children's playground is derelict sites, okay, and suddenly London is bombarded. London is the blitz has officially begun. Right. Looking up, I thought I saw masses of blackbirds. Take cover, take cover. Everyone was shouting what was going on and why was everyone running in all directions. The sun was in my eyes. I couldn't see clearly what was in the sky, but I grabbed Billy's hand and we ran home as fast as we could. Miles frantically went up the road towards us with Charlie in her arms. She seized Billy by his jumper and we ran back towards our flats. The noise was caused by swarms of German bombers. Right, and they run in the air raid shelter, and that's it. They have to be evacuated again. But the thing is this, in all this though, is just to show the entrepreneurship of how people get things done in this time in London. Now, this family is so used to mending their own clothes, something that is given to the older ones gets passed down to the younger ones. The rule is keep it nice, keep it mine eventually. Okay, is what Kitty does is actually go around, okay, and pick up wood. As these buildings are all being bombed, Kitty goes around, okay, picking up the wood to actually sell it from a wheelbarrow, right, to earn money for the mother. Their father's gone off to fight, so, and also ration books for clothing rations. The mother actually sells them, right. Goes to actually sell the ration books, the ration coupons, right, because they're the family, okay, that actually gets on with just make do and amend their own clothes. Right. Here you go. Right. Go on, love. If you can go away, fill it up, I'll buy you 2 bowls. That's it. Go on, that's a good girl. I'll charge a penny a bowl and I wanted value for money. There are many loose planks of wood from floorboards and rafters which I could chop up and sell. Collecting these also had its dangers and it left great gaps in floorboards below. Right. So they're ripping up the old houses that are being blitzed to sell to other families of firewood. Well, there's a war on, and that's entrepreneurship, okay? Right. And then they find out that they're going to be evacuated again. And this evacuation is actually very, very brief, okay? But this is now Um, well, Kitty is actually the third of the children. Okay, the other two are now old enough to actually, at the age of 14, you left school, you went to work. So her older sisters, Mary and Hetty, have now gone to work and to earn money for the household. But the thing is, as um, as Kitty's too young, now it's her and her brother's turn to get evacuated. Right, that's the thing, both them. And also is this: neither of these children now going to school, right? Mum was anxious about my wandering around all day, playing in bomb sites with Billy. We're still in a great danger from falling debris and airways. Sometimes we managed to get to school only for the only hour it was open, but when the siren sounded, we had to run home to our shelters. Billy didn't always get back in home in time before the all clear sounded. Right, but Mum would be beside herself. The raids was now starting to happen more frequently during the day. And so it's time for them to be evacuated again. And this is so brief, okay, that it is essentially just 2 pages. They got to stay with a woman who's only got one leg, and it freaks Billy out, and it's so brief. It's just not even a couple of pages before they return home. And in the return home, their brother Charlie has actually passed away. Sadly, he had an infection and he was on oxygen, but they couldn't save his life. So her father comes home briefly from the war to actually bury their son, but it's it's quite a sad moment for the family. It's kind of the realism that even though there is a war on, people can still die from things unrelated to that war. So he just passed away from an infection. It's quite sad, really. And then they're evacuated for the third time, which is wow. They are sent to Brighton. Hey, Hey, I like Brighton. Doesn't love Brighton. Brighton. And they are sent to, evacuated to a, okay, you could call it a house of ill repute, okay? It's where women entertain. So her adolescent brother and Kitty, who is now probably turned about 12, 13 years of age, is sent to a house where they entertain soldiers. Right. And when they go into this room, okay, after the evacuation, all these women are absolutely beautiful, lounging around, okay, being entertainers, if you will. Yes. And we're called into the sitting room where there were 3 red and gold settees and matching curtains. The smell of perfume hung in the air. In this room were 2 more women talking to 2 American soldiers. I realised by now the 5 girls lived in this house, and I thought how nice it would be to be one big family like my own. The atmosphere was wonderful, as everyone was laughing and seemed so happy. Right. So, while she's there, Kitty serves breakfast, okay, and then she writes a letter to her mother saying that these women dress up nice, wear lovely clothes, and they entertain, okay, men, and we're very happy here. And maybe I could do that as my job. You know, remember, she's going to age out of school in 2 years. So, yes, it's for her, it's like one big party. Now, of course, you know, Ezekiel kind of, this is no place for a child to be, incidentally, okay? But of course, Kitty's adolescent mind, and she acknowledges that, okay? Um, Life in Blackpool is like a long holiday I could never have dreamed of back in London. With money, freedom, fun and dancing, I didn't realise that there might be more danger from the constant flow of American visitors at our villa. With my fancy hairstyles and painted nails, I looked very grown up. I knew I'd be soon had to get a job at 14, what was the legal age to work. Wondering why the young women didn't go out to work, I asked them if they had a job. They asked me if they were paid to entertain the Americans and to make them feel happy and at home. This would be a brilliant idea. With my lack of education, perhaps this would be a job I could do. But then her mum arrives and after getting this letter and brings her back to London saying, what the hell was going on? I'll bring you both home. No, this is not going to be your job. Not going to be. Okay. And of course, we're nearing the ward end. There is much sadness when the father passes away. He passes away over in Italy. That's where he's buried, and he's killed in action. And it has a massive impact, of course, on the family. When it's like the the V Day, when it's the day of the end of the war, okay, and the mother won't let them celebrate. Not going out there. We didn't have anything to celebrate, said Mum. My sisters agreed, so we stayed inside. There was no party for us. Looked up at Dad's suit hanging in the wardrobe, waited for him to return. What's to happen to that? What happens now? To console myself that I never had to be evacuated again. The times have been enough. I could be with Mum and keep her company. Right. So, yeah. And it ends with her actually meeting her husband, which sadly the marriage failed. But then she met someone else and remarried 10 years later and raised two children. So, this is brutal. It's the war through a child's eyes, her adolescence. It's interesting too because obviously this is Kitty Baxter looking back on her life and acknowledging the fact that in some ways, okay, it's rose tinted eyes, okay, that's rose tinted glasses that are looking back. Now the fact is, okay, she grew up in a place, okay, which there was no bath. They had to go to public baths and pay to have a bath if they could afford it. The fact, okay, the place was falling apart even before the Blitz happened, right? And it's absolutely sad what this family goes through. It's but it's also essential. I mean, this is one of the last generations of women from this era, okay? And I love her writing style. It just pulls you in. The way Kitty Baxter described this world, I felt like I was there, okay? I felt so much like I was there. This is an essential book to understand an evacuee story, okay? It's not like Good Night, Mr. Tom or Back Home. This is not the kind of going to the countryside and get oranges and sunshine and fresh air and that kind of thing. This is actually quite brutal in places. And I'm signing off here.